Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. This is a Daily Mail article, The Truth Behind Kash Patel's Unprecedented Request for Trump Access, sending shockwaves through the Make America Great Again world, which is the majority of the U.S. electorate. President Trump won the popular vote. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. To my super chat, thank you so very much. I can't do these without you. Your super chat support is greatly appreciated. Paul, thank you so very, very much, as always. This is very interesting, and I will explain in about 30 seconds, then you'll get to hear from Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and others. But this is the entire story regarding Kash Patel and a direct line to President Trump. When the Honorable James Comey was working under President Obama, and the next director was working under Biden, they had a direct line to the president at all times. Presidents can speak directly to Federal Bureau of Investigation directors whenever they choose, whenever they like. Okay, you've had, since the beginning of the FBI, presidents speaking directly to Hoover, directly to directors of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. This isn't a big deal. The facade that the Justice Department and the Bureau and other intel agencies are separate from the presidency is a cruel, sad, pathetic joke, a somewhat comedic attempt at trying to convince people that Biden and President Obama and Bush and other presidents were completely had no influence on the Department of Justice. This couldn't be further from the truth. President Trump, number one, is cutting the funding. He's cutting the legs from, he's cutting the engine. He's shutting down the engine of the Democratic Party, which is funding, fundraising, billions in potential graft and bribery. That's what's taking place first. Then you'll have indictments, criminal prosecutions. Then you'll have files being released. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and this entire monstrosity of a bureaucracy and a Byzantine labyrinth of funding through USAID, non-governmental organizations, fundraising sites that are now potentially in trouble, a whole bunch of things. President Trump is cutting the funding, is doing a number on the foundation of the Democratic Party. Then you'll see the indictments. Then you'll see the releases of information. And Kash Patel wants a secure line to speak to President Trump whenever he needs to. He doesn't have to go through the Attorney General, and there's actually no problem between the Attorney General and Kash Patel. Don't believe any of the nonsense. Hit subscribe. Paul, thank you so very, very much.
And I want to hurry and get him sworn in because I'm the happiest person today ever. All right, here we go. Please place your hand on the guitar and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear.
I, Kash Patel, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely,
And I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully
And that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
How to find the perfect pet sitter in 4 easy steps.
The duties of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Does that look like there's a problem between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel? Of course there isn't. That's why you watch this channel. Hit subscribe if you're new. Paul, thank you so much for the super chat. And to my super chat, thank you. I can't do it without you, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I will have an important upload tomorrow and live stream. The district court judge backed down, and the funds are actually not going to be dispersed in a manner, the $2 billion in USAID. Trump won that, even with Amy Coney Barrett ruling against it. And by the way, Amy Coney Barrett, she ruled in favor of Trump more often than not. So there's no palace intrigue here. Everything's running smoothly, and the Democrats are unfortunately, the party itself is too stupid to realize that Trump is taking a gigantic orange bulldozer to it. Anyway, let's continue.
Wow. First and foremost, we were just with President Trump, and I just want to thank him. I know he's not here in the room right now, but what a ride we have been on, what a courageous warrior and leader he has been, and the faith and trust he has put in me to lead the FBI is the greatest honor that I'll ever have in my life. And to General Bondi, that sounds pretty freaking cool. Pam, you're my sister, you're my mentor, you're my friend. You're my boss, and the confidence you have placed in me, I will never violate that trust. The men and women of the FBI will be led under your leadership through one standard, the Constitution. So thank you for entrusting me, Pam. Oh man, this is effing crazy.
Isn't it nice to have a real human being as president, as FBI director, as attorney general? Like actual human beings, not lifelong deceitful bureaucrats that just lie and pretend that they're so intelligent and experienced, and they do the most, unethical, criminal, corrupt things. I'm talking about his predecessors. I'm talking about people like Brennan and Clapper and others, people who lost their security clearances, people who created a new Cold War. For what? It didn't work. President Trump won the popular vote. So let's continue.
Well, obviously, you don't get here alone. I'm here because of God. I'm here because of my family, and I'm here because of my friends. And you're literally in this room because you made it happen. My sister, Nisha, and my nephew, Aryan, flew in from London just to be here. My beautiful girlfriend, Alexis, is here. Yes, I agree. My aunts and uncles are here. They've come from all over the country. I am living the American dream. And anyone that thinks the American dream is dead, just look right here. You're talking to a first-generation Indian kid who's about to lead the law enforcement community, the greatest nation on God's green earth. That can't happen anywhere else. To the senators and the men and women of the United States House of Representatives, you placed an enormous trust in me, an enormous leap of faith, one that I didn't know that I could possibly earn back, but I'm going to spend every single day on this job doing so. The fact that you placed the confidence you did in me has inspired me to reach new heights at this job. I promise you the following: there will be accountability within the FBI and outside of the FBI, and we will do it through rigorous constitutional oversight starting this weekend. Yeah. This is great. We all used to live in the same freaking house. Yeah, I don't have any prepared remarks. I wish I could go around the room and, tell the story about how each and every one of you have magically touched my life to put me in this position. What a roller coaster ride it has been.
What can
Do know this. We are in this room together because you guys have a love of country that is truly inspirational, and it bleeds out everywhere we go. And if you look around this room, you see civil servants, you see warriors, you see attorneys, you see great husbands and fathers and mothers and wives. And we're fighting for the same thing, our future, our children, this guy. And there is no greater mission. I wish I had more words to thank every single one of you, but every time I look at every single one of you, you guys know the stories you can't tell. More importantly, the ones you can. This is, Pam and I were just talking in the back, and we were like, do you believe this? Like, we were on the campaign trail together. We were attorneys in the first administration together. Now we're here. She's the Attorney General. I'm the Director of the FBI. Like, this is insane. And I don't really fully believe it yet. I hope to. But
Believe it.
I'm just not here without you guys. And look, I know the media's in here. And if you have a target, that target's right here. It's not the men and women at the FBI. You've written everything you possibly can about me that's fake, malicious, slanderous, and defamatory. Keep it coming. Bring it on. But leave the men and women of the FBI out of it. They deserve better. And for those of you who think that there's going to be a two-tier system of justice, not with Attorney General Bondi. There's a singular system of justice for all Americans, and there will be accountability. And the reason that this mission is so important is simply the following. 100,000 people last year raped. 100,000 people died of CCP fentanyl overdose and heroin. 17,000 homicides. Violent crime is out of control. We cannot have a United States of America where that is acceptable, where someone dies every 30 minutes, where someone ODs every 7, where someone's raped every 6. That cannot be allowed to continue, and it will not be allowed to continue. Our national security mission is equally as important. Anyone that wishes to do harm to our way of life and our citizens here or abroad will face the full wrath of the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And if you seek to hide in any corner of this country or any corner of this planet, we will put on the world's largest manhunt, and we will find you, and we will decide your end state, not you. We will uphold the Constitution. We will uphold ourselves to the Constitution. The men and women at the FBI, I have your back because you have the backs of the American people. You will be held to the same high standard. Any deviation from that standard will not be tolerated at this Federal Bureau of Investigation. The men and women at the FBI who make us safe deserve better, and they are going to get it with our leadership and your support. God bless America, and God bless every one of you. I love this country. Everyone go to the Waldorf.
So you saw, ladies and gentlemen, the respect that Kash Patel has for Pam Bondi. There's absolutely zero. There's zero rivalry. There's zero. A lot of the palace intrigue. The they tried to, the fake and phony and absurd news tried to say that Marco Rubio and Elon Musk had a big fight, which is nonsense. Now people are saying, well, Amy Coney Barrett, why did she? It's okay. She can. It's not the end of the world. It was not even. It was for greater clarity for $2 billion in money that that was supposedly already earmarked for work that was done. That's okay. It's okay if Amy Coney Barrett votes once in a while alongside with the liberals. It's not a big deal. President Trump is kicking major you-know-what and taking names. He's doing the Democrats, media, the establishment that, 2 attempts on his life, endless indictments, a conviction which is going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. All of this, ladies and gentlemen, did not stop President Trump, and he is completely just demolishing, absolutely demolishing that very, very corrupt Washington establishment politically. Bobby, thank you. Everyone here, thank you so very much. Thank you for the kind words, everybody. Paul Bartlett, thank you so much. Let's continue.
Very corrupt agencies, the FBI and the CIA. I'm not breaking news here, but they need to be swept completely clean, all right? Joining us now to talk about it, Kash Patel, former Deputy Director of National Intelligence and former Pentagon Chief of Staff. Kash, welcome. Appreciate it very much. We know that John Ratcliffe is going to the CIA. I think he's a pretty tough guy, and he knows where at least some of the bodies are buried. What do you think? What should he look for?
Johnny's a personal friend. He was in Congress when we did Russiagate when I was a chief investigator, and then later when he was DNI, and I was the deputy director. He's a fantastic choice. He understands the intelligence community, but also you got to remember he was one of the stalwarts in Congress, who's a former federal prosecutor that stood up and said, look, my FBI and my DOJ that I used to run and work in lied to the American people, lied to a federal court, and illegally surveilled a president and thousands of Americans. And he took a lot of heat for it, but he was right.
He was right, absolutely. Now, we haven't heard FBI. Now, Matt Gaetz, Justice Department, that does oversee the FBI, but we need a strong FBI director.
Look, whether it's FBI, DOJ, DOD, I think the narrative and the mandate that President Trump received is simple. They want accountability inside of Washington, D.C. I'm not saying everyone in these institutions, far be it from everyone, has corrupted them, but the leadership structure, for example, at the Department of Defense, where I was Chief of Staff, these 4-star and 3-star generals, a lot of them are fantastic, Larry. But some of them, I don't understand what they're doing. They're there for their next promotion, and they're there to propagate DEI and white rage and climate change. But these are the same folks. When President Trump gets criticized for these appointments, why don't we ask the American public to say, hey, these are the folks that gave us the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. These are the folks that drone struck 7 Afghani children in response to that and didn't take responsibility for that. These are the folks that failed the no-fail mission of the United States and are now leading us into multiple world wars. Of course it's time for a change, and that's what America voted for.
I mean, let's go back to that, this woke Pentagon, DEI Pentagon, etc. And Pete Hegseth wrote a brilliant book about that. He's a much decorated military veteran himself and a very smart fellow, as we all know. He's being criticized for this. I think he should be praised for this. I mean, this is a kind of sweep of the Pentagon that you have to have every few, 30 years, 40. I mean, nothing, correct me if I'm wrong. George C. Marshall, great wartime leader, had a similar sweep with generals and top officers, redid the headquarters, redid the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I don't know. Have we done anything like this since then? I mean, that was a long time ago, like 75 years ago, some odd.
Well, Ike Eisenhower warned us about it 60 years ago. He said, the defense industrial complex, if you let it, will overtake not just the DOD, but all of Washington, D.C., and it has. And they do a lot of good work. But all of these folks that are in these leadership positions that have corrupted it are running a circular revolving door. Hire me into the DOD, then hire me into your 7-figure payday at this defense industrial contract. By the way, while I was serving as Secretary of Defense, let me make sure you get $1 billion contract. This has to stop. This has to be broken apart. I mean, you're talking about a Defense Department, just one clear example, in the Ukraine conflict. They didn't lose $1 billion by wasting it. They lost $1 billion. They can't find it.
Right.
And this Department of Defense, and you're the economic guy, has not passed a budget audit in 16 years. Of course it's time for sweeping leadership.
What you mean hasn't passed a budget audit? This is interesting new info.
Yeah, so as Chief of Staff, I oversee the entire Department of Defense, and every year there's an annual financial audit that checks the balances and the books. And the Department of Defense has not passed an audit
of its budget in over a decade.
Isn't that something? Now, what about the FBI? There was a great story a couple days ago. I think it was the Washington Times. FBI leaders shocked and stunned at Trump's victory. And then it goes on, it takes the next 20 or so paragraphs that they couldn't believe it happened, and they may have to hand in their resumes. Shocked and so, why would the FBI be so political? That's not their mission. Well, the answer is maybe they're all liberal Democrats over there, and maybe that's part of it, or that they are.
Liberal Democrats, the far left, the Democratic Party itself. I used to be one my entire life. What took place in the past decade is that they ran out of things to run on. They're now almost like a religious cult, so they just feel morally superior. They don't really do anything to make themselves morally superior. They don't even have a functioning primary. They recreate the Cold War because, they lied about Trump winning in 2016 because of interference. That's all nonsense. Trump won the popular vote despite being indicted, prosecuted, convicted. Nobody believes anything they claim to uphold. Democrats believe in the environment and in justice and all of these things, and it's like their cities, blue cities, are in turmoil. The country experienced a terrible financial situation with Biden. Interest rates went through the roof because inflation that they said was temporary reached 8%. You have endless wars with Democrats. They're not even anti-war. The far left is not even except for one country. So they'll focus only on one country. That's it. One small country in the Middle East. That's it. Everything else, if they're told to support it, they'll support it. It's like the Elon Musk meme. I support the newest thing or whatever. I forgot exactly what it was. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't have X, Facebook, Instagram. I just have my YouTube channels. This one, obviously the biggest one. But what do Democrats stand for? They don't even know. How do you go from Biden to Harris, from Clinton to Biden to Harris, and then also have AOC and Bernie Sanders in the same political party? It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Okay, Trump believed in everything he believes in 2016. He has not wavered, which, by the way, would make him a 90s Democrat. Okay, so when people say, how did you go from Bernie Sanders to Trump? It's like, well, I don't want endless wars. That's number one. I want a better economy. That's number two. We had record low poverty with Trump in his first tenure. Okay. And the tariffs are good negotiating tactics. Suddenly you have these wonderful economists. Tariffs are bad. It's like, yeah, they're bad for 10 years. They're not bad for half a year or 1 year or a year and a half. And Democrats kept Trump's tariffs against China. Anyway, let's continue.
They're the ones who were in charge of weaponization. I mean, here, Melania Trump really refused to talk to Jill Biden afterwards because Melania was still furious at the FBI invasion of Mar-a-Lago, down the road from here. What business did they have? What business did the FBI have inviting CNN at 5 a.m. in the morning to bust up Roger Stone's house down in Fort Lauderdale, or wherever Roger was living, when all they had to do was contact the lawyer? The answer is left-wing politics.
Now, look, as a former national security prosecutor at the Department of Justice, where I worked with FBI agents all across the country and around the world, the question, again, we should be asking those folks that are, quote unquote, outraged, where was your career official outrage when Russiagate occurred and you illegally surveilled a president? Where was your career outrage when hundreds of thousands of Americans were unlawfully surveilled in 1 year alone, just 2 years ago? Where was your outrage when houses of worship were raided, or where our children go to school, the FBI was posting up outside? So I didn't see or hear any of that outrage then, but it goes to your point. It shows their political proclivities. And the worst weapon we have in government is a two-tier system of justice that's been weaponized. So I think some of these folks are finally showing us their hypocrisy. And I think it's time that Donald Trump came in there with the sweeping mandate that the American public gave him to return a singular system of constitutional justice. Here's the thing. There is no revenge list. If Donald Trump is successful,
there's likely a number of individuals on Trump's radar. It's not a revenge list, but there's very likely a number of individuals on Trump's radar, and that's why they're so petrified. They were so inept at utilizing the full weight of government against Trump, Kash Patel, Devin Nunes, a whole bunch of people. Okay, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos. I mean, they tried to crush Trump, and in the end, Trump is taking a gigantic wrecking ball. The funding, that's what I'm trying to tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Patience. Patience is a virtue, which we all have. The funding apparatus, it's even going too fast for me to comprehend. I mean, it's the funding apparatus of Democrats. That's why you have those two YouTubers, for example, starting a left-leaning political, I believe it's a political action committee, and then they promptly left it because of one YouTuber's bigoted writing. Well, multiply that fiasco times 500,000, literally, maybe 1 million. There are hundreds of thousands of non-governmental organizations, many of which funnel money to the Democratic Party somehow, according to reports, according to Elon Musk, for example. Anyway, let's continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, as part of my responsibility as a member of this committee, I asked the following two initial questions of all nominees before any of my committees. Since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
I don't think that she asked that of. The senator might have asked that of the former directors. I'm not sure.
No, Senator, I have not.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator, I have not.
Mr. Patel, you have been a champion of the January 6th prison choir. You have stated that the choir's members were, quote, incarcerated as a result of their involvement in the
Where was the choir of the people who committed billions in property damage that summer? Or where were the indictments of these people? Oh, that's right. It never happened. Because Democrats said fiery but mostly peaceful through CNN, and they literally ignored curfews, nightly curfews in major cities. Billions, and I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated. Okay, I do. But billions in property damage, billions of dollars throughout this country in property damage, especially in blue cities. And not one national Democrat said anything. I wonder why.
January 6, 2021 protest for election integrity, end quote. One of the choir members is Julian Cater, who pled guilty. He pled guilty to assaulting officers with a deadly weapon. On January 6th, he attacked.
This is terrible. I condemn that. It's terrible. What happened on January 6th was absolutely terrible. The worst thing to ever happen to President Trump, supporters of President Trump, the country at that moment. But that was unfortunately a tiny fraction. That violence I condemn it. It's terrible, absolutely terrible. Should never have taken place. Democrats used that day to silence people. And it's like the First Amendment does not allow you to take over a university building. But again, you have to speak you have to explain things very slowly to the morally superior on the left. But it does allow you to talk about Hunter's laptop, for example, or potential government involvement within that day in January. Okay, we couldn't talk about any of that stuff. We still kind of can't talk about that. I mean, you can, but it's Democrats, media have not looked at all into the attempts on Trump's life, potential government involvement that day, or how billions in property damage took place and hundreds upon hundreds of law enforcement officials assaulted by demonstrators all throughout that summer. Again, I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated. But why don't Democrats care about that? I just don't get it. Actually, I understand it. You understand it perfectly. But the hypocrisy is unbelievable.
Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick with pepper spray, and the next day, Officer Sicknick suffered from 2 strokes and died. Mr. Patel, was Mr. Cater protesting for election integrity? Yes or no?
I don't know who that is.
I'm not asking you who that is. I'm asking you whether, having heard the description of what he pled to, whether he was protesting for election integrity, yes or no.
I don't know who that is.
That is not responsive to my question. You're not willing to say that, but you were willing to describe this choir as consisting of people who were protesting for election integrity, and yet you testify you don't know them. We have heard already your book includes a list of 60 people who you think make up part of the executive branch deep state. Mr. Patel, if confirmed, do you plan to investigate President Trump's former FBI Director Christopher Wray? Yes or no?
I have no plans in going backwards. I have plans in safeguarding.
How about James Comey? Do you plan to investigate him?
Senator, every investigation will be subject to the same
legal standard. Do you plan to investigate James Comey, who's on your list?
I have no intentions of going backwards.
How about Bill Barr?
Every intention of using the Constitution.
How about Bill Barr? Do you plan to investigate him, who's on your executive branch deep state, and you say you're going to ferret out the deep state?
No one
yes or
that
no?
did not break the law will be investigated.
No answers to any of those. Okay.
I give it up to the senator. She was, the comedy, the humor. I have to say that was a beautiful by Senator Hirono. Even though I disagree with her politically, something I would say to a family member, a friend. No answer, and no answer at all. Wow, no answer. Okay, no answer. Wonderful. Let's listen to that again.
Investigate him, who's on your executive branch deep state, and you say you're going to ferret out the deep state?
No one
yes or
that
no?
did not break the law will be investigated.
No answers to any of those. Okay. Over 1 million Americans died as a result of COVID-19. The COVID-19
It was a terrible, terrible time in American history. The average age of somebody who lost their lives, terrible time in American history. What was the average age, for example, in California in 2020? What was the average age? Do you know? What was the condition of the human being and the average age? The average age of the United States workforce in every state is around 40 years old, 39 to 41 to 42 years old. That's the average age. Okay? So we shut down economic activity. We couldn't go to the beach, coffee shop, to the office if you were healthy. Shut down economic activity, and AOC said, stimulus checks and eviction moratorium. It's like, you prevented people from working, genius. Of course you need an eviction moratorium. They can't work for their rent. They can't afford rent because nothing's open. Because you shut everything down because of Falsey, who got preemptively pardoned for crimes spanning 1,000 years ago. The next Democrat will sign a preemptive pardon since the dawn of man. You're pardoned. 300,000 years of crimes. Pardoned. Auto pen. The average age was 72. I think 70, 71, 72, or 73. Okay, there's no rebuttal to that. There's zero rebuttal to that. Let's continue.
I would like to hear your answer, yes or no. Did you make money?
I don't have
those.
This is
my third and last time I'm going to ask you that question.
You have that information.
So you refuse to answer the question.
I answered 1,300 pages.
Russell, God bless you. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Thank you so much for watching.
You no answer, and yet you spread dangerous misinformation. Mr. Patel, the FBI is the...
No answer again. No answer. Information that misinforms. The hobby, the pastime of Democrats who then pontificate about the dangers of information that misinforms.
Primary agency responsible for investigating election-related crimes, including fraud and the denial of voting rights. So being able to separate fact from conspiracy theories around elections is an important thing for the FBI director.
Biden, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, there was not one shred of evidence that he didn't get all of his wonderful support 4 years ago. He was literally the most popular candidate of all time because of his charisma, his eloquence. And less than 4 years later, George Clooney, Hollywood, Democrats, media wanted him out because they were mortified that he actually behaved the way he always did, poor man, showing potential cognitive issues and other issues, looking like a deer in the headlights. They did that. They did him dirty. They did him dirty. Not even any makeup, no nothing. I've been on CNN and MSNBC. They almost always give you makeup. There's a makeup room. They did no makeup for Biden. They put, if anything, they made him look like a ghost. That was a setup beyond belief. But anyway, he was the most popular candidate, but less than 4 years later, George Clooney wants him out, and Democrats are mortified, and they go with Harris, who polled lower than Biden. But of course, not one shred of any evidence that says that they catapulted Biden through shady means. And if anyone ever believed that, they would be a horrible human being who should never have been born.
Sir, I have a question to see if you can do that. Mr. Patel, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 presidential election? Yes or no?
President Biden's election was certified. He was sworn in and he served as the president of the United States.
Once again, the people who are 100% loyal to President Trump cannot answer that question. It is alarming that you...
He answered that question. Democrats think that Trump camped out on the White House lawn for 4 years. He's like, I'm coming back in. You know what? This is the best lawn ever. He didn't do that. He left. The man left. They still weren't happy. They're never happy. The Democrats are never happy, no matter what happens. The man left. Every day. Do you solemnly swear that Biden won? Yeah, he won. Okay. How did he do it? Of course, through legal means. It was fine. Less than 4 years later, George Clooney wants him out. But hey, he won fair and square.
You want to be an FBI director who can answer a simple question, factual question. During a 2023 interview with Steve Bannon.
Thank you, Andrea, for the kind words. Thank you, everybody, for the kind words.
You said, quote, we will go out and find the conspirators, not just in government, but in the media. Yes, we're going to come after the people in the media who lied about the American citizens, who helped Joe Biden rig presidential elections. There's your quote. Do you still plan to come after the free press?
Not unless private citizens have been defamed. That's their right.
You said that you would be going after the media. So I want to know whether you plan to do that. Go after the free media.
I can't go after the media for other people. That's a decision they have.
So I would say that that was a statement that you made that is pretty chilling to the free media.
Very free media, very free. You can never find a more free media than what we have. So free, it's unbelievable. So free and wonderful. Not one Trump supporter at the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the Atlantic, Rolling Stone, Mother Jones, The Nation, Raw Story, Daily Beast, formerly BuzzFeed, and then Vice. We can go on forever. Oh, the Los Angeles Times actually is changed. So is the Washington Post. Bezos is like, you know what? Let's personal liberty and free markets, okay? We've tried for, about 8 years to, deceive and convince the public that Trump is a menace to humanity. It didn't work, so now free markets. the media is an extension, essentially, of the Democratic Party. There's not one Trump supporter in any major publication. I mean, in any of the publications I named, there almost certainly is not one Trump supporter. There's zero investigative journalism aimed at finding out corruption within the Democratic Party. Okay, God bless the New York Post and Daily Mail. Okay, but anyway, let's continue.
So I didn't hear a no that you would not go after them. You currently serve on the board of directors for the Trump Media Technology Group, which owns the social media platform Truth Social. If confirmed as FBI director, will you resign from this position and end all ties with the Trump Media and Technology Group?
Yes, Senator, as I've stated to you in writing.
Over the last 2 years, the FBI has dedicated resources to Operation Not Forgotten, which works to address violent crime in Indian country. If confirmed as FBI director, would you continue the important work of Operation Not Forgotten?
I've made that commitment to many of your colleagues who have tribal issues and tribal crimes plaguing their communities, and I'll make that commitment to you as well, Senator.
My time is almost up, but I would like to note that on the many questions asked about the choir, the J6 choir, it included at least 5
So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be amazing. He is amazing right now. This is the best thing to ever happen to this country. One of the best things to ever happen. Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, President Trump's second term. You have to understand the funding that's being taken away from. They might not win the midterms. They might be able to, without the adequate funding, they might not win midterms. And with everything going on in blue states right now, like New Jersey, Trump lost by 5 points. If Trump should do 20 events in New Jersey for the next 4 years. J.D. Vance should focus on New Jersey. If Democrats lose New Jersey, it's game, set, match for like a generation. Okay, Democrats have been trying forever to flip Texas. Ain't going to happen. Because people are generally becoming actually more conservative, not less conservative. But that's another story. Let's continue.
And former Department of Defense Chief of Staff Kash Patel. Kash, your reaction to just the president's remarks, and he was, quite frankly, very reserved.
So this is last year when New York was going after Trump. It only helped President Trump. It's unbelievable. Kash Patel was there the whole time, the whole way. So, I mean, this segment, I just want you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, there's no rift between Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Okay. The Democratic donor files who own the island, okay, those files will eventually be released. The issue is that who knows? There could be people working within the Bureau or within the Department of Justice that don't want the high-level Democrats, because he was a Democratic donor. So they don't want the Democrats, the names of certain Democrats. Who knows? I love when everything the Democrats or the Democratic Party is accused of and likely is part of, they then say, well, here's a picture of Trump and that donor. It's like Trump has many pictures with many people, millions of pictures with millions of people. Okay, thousands upon thousands of pictures. He's been part of Americana since like the early 80s. Okay, he didn't have a painting of Trump in a blue dress. That was the former Democratic Party president, okay, who didn't have a plane, by the way. Trump has planes. So, I mean, it's like, you have Hollywood celebrities, you have 90s rappers, performing artists, you have Democratic donors, you have Hollywood producers and directors who went to prison and then got out of prison. And this is all the Democratic Party. the epicenter of immorality, corruption, criminality, very likely is within Hollywood or DC, potentially, very likely and potentially. Okay, it's not like Democrats who committed crimes, let's say, they didn't have planes. They weren't billionaires. They didn't, Trump had the planes. Trump did not need a Democratic donor to help him with money or funding or anything like that. So it's like the names on that list, it ain't going to be linked to Trump. Generally, it's not going to be, almost certainly not going to be anything to do with Trump. Almost certainly. It'll be almost certainly everything to do with Democrats. The man was a Democratic donor. Okay? New York couldn't even find a grand jury for years to indict that man. Wonder why. Okay? Tammany Hall works in mysterious ways.
Given what has gone on today.
I think it's great to be with you guys. I think he showed extreme composure at a time when any other American would have completely lost it. And I think that shows the brilliance of President Trump's ability to put the two-tier system of justice on display for all Americans to see in civil and criminal proceedings in state and federal court. And look, as a former federal prosecutor and a public defender, an individual who actually prosecuted and defended fraud cases, let's just lay this out as simple as we can. In order for there to be a fraud case, there has to be a fraud victim who was defrauded. And in this instance, as the president highlighted, this judge convicted him before the trial even began of this fraud and then made up monetary numbers to substantiate that judgment. On top of which, the president was denied a right to a jury trial because Letitia James used some statute for consumer protection fraud issues to prosecute Trump civilly that precluded him from a jury trial of his peers. So there are all sorts of constitutional issues with this, but what the American public has seen is a rigged system of justice against a political opponent of the DOJ and the state attorney general's office in New York, just like in Georgia and elsewhere, all to do one thing: rob American people of the decision at the electorate day to elect Donald Trump.
Well, Kash, it's interesting.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hopefully he has direct access, direct safe line to President Trump. I mean, look, Democrats for years and Republicans for years, through Bush, then President Obama, then Biden, Trump, not so much. Trump was investigated by his own Federal Bureau of Investigation in his first term because it wasn't his own, really. It was, they set him up even before he became president. So there will be accountability, files will be released, all that stuff will take place, but the fundraising apparatus, the Democrats don't win because of their ideology. They win because of massive fundraising, immense media support, and Hollywood and Jimmy Kimmel every single night, along with Stephen Colbert and John Oliver and Jon Stewart. They have, it's like there's an entire apparatus, along with the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN. There's an entire apparatus. If they didn't have that, if they didn't have that, just imagine where their political party would be right now. It's already in turmoil and in free fall. But imagine if they didn't have all the advantages they've had for so long. Anyway, hit subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back tomorrow. Numerous live streams. Very important upload in the morning. Hit subscribe. Thank you, everybody. And